Hello.
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 Paris, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey guys.
So you guys are in town for a very, very, very exciting reason. You're on tour with Fall Out Boy and AOL Nation right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
tonight they're playing Madison Square Garden. So if we could get like one more round of applause because that is insane.
Thank you.
So what's that like? I mean, playing at Madison Square Garden. I assume this is your first time.
First
right?
time
Okay.
ever, yeah. We never imagined we'd ever get to play it in general, like never mind open it or
Especially this soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially this early on too. So we're kind of just like
I honestly
What's
have
going
wrapped my
on right
brain
now?
around
Yeah.
anything that's going on.
yeah. I feel like every day we're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But
Well, thank you for like sparing a second of
Of
today
course.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
to come here. And you guys are from Boston, which is kind of, I don't know if you're big sports fans,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you're in like enemy territory.
I know.
in
I
MSG,
know.
Yeah.
but it's okay.
we
Thanks
know.
for having us.
Treading
And
lightly.
not
We'll be welcoming and nice. And what's it like playing and opening with Fall Out Boy and AWOL Nation? I mean, that's just such a great thing to do.
It's
been
been
awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome. They're all awesome dudes as well. So and we've
yeah,
listened
the
to them
crew's been
since we were
super
younger.
nice
So
and
yeah.
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 What do you think the three of you guys have in common? Because each of you guys kind of hit a different. They're all rock bands, but they're all different. So
I don't know. What do we have in common? I don't know.
We all play
Nothing.
music.
Wow.
I don't know. We're on the same
Good
tour.
enough yeah.
We're on the same tour.
And which of the bands have you guys become all friends together? And
We're
Not fully
the
yet.
tour's still early. This is like the fourth show of the
Mm.
tour, so we're still getting to know each other. But
Yeah, we're still kind of getting in the swing of things and like
getting there.
adapting to this size of a tour with these kind of people. So, but everybody's been super welcoming and
Yeah.
nice when we
Yeah.
have like bumped into them and stuff. So
you guys have your debut album, White Noise, which is coming back again as a deluxe edition.
Mhm.
Came out in 2014. Why are you deciding to bring it back now?
we're definitely like reaching a new wave of like an audience, or not necessarily new wave, but definitely a new level of audience. So it's kind of like a not necessarily rebrand, but just another extra push for the record because it's doing so well and it's going even further than we had possibly imagined. And so yeah, that's why, and we put new songs on it to kind of keep it interesting and stuff. So.
yeah.
Is it hard playing, you're going on tour playing songs from 2014, and you guys are so young. Has your sound already even evolved past this album in some ways, and you're like, okay,
To some extent, I think I definitely think our sound is changing, but it's definitely growing and I think maturing. Obviously, that's such a cliche answer, but yeah, we're never gonna make the same record twice. But it's fun still playing them because I feel like the songs kind of take a new meaning the more and more you play them and the more you kind of live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a new life every couple months, which is kind of cool. So it's refreshing in a way.
Yeah, we have a new song we've been playing on this tour.
Yeah,
And
you and I.
it's been very awesome. Love
Yeah,
the song.
how has the sound changed in terms of the new songs?
I mean, we only have about, on the deluxe, there's only 3 new songs, 3 new tracks. But as for like writing the new record, I can't really say too much too yet. We don't want
I
to give
did
away
hear you
too
guys
much.
are already working on it.
We are, yeah.
Always.
Right.
But it's definitely still dark. It's definitely still really kind of angsty and Paris, I suppose. So.
Yeah, you've said before in interviews, Lynn, that you are inspired by things that are not happy.
Yeah.
So I wanted you
believe
to
we all
talk
are.
Yeah.
more, but it's a very funny thing to just actually say out loud.
Yeah.
And and obviously, if you listen to your music, you can hear that. But what is it about dark things that are uncomfortable, things that are unhappy, that inspires you?
I think it's such a thing that everybody's drawn to, but not everybody kind of realizes it, because they're such intense, and I feel like they're the most raw things you feel, and not everybody's open to addressing them or talking about them all the time. So to be able to do that, it's A, cathartic, and B, I think it's something you can really connect with on like a bigger scale, because it's kind of like watching a car accident. You can't look away, but you still, I don't know. You know what I mean? I think everybody's drawn to darkness. Everybody has it, and it's an important thing to kind of not necessarily honor, but acknowledge and kind of accept at times. So that's why it's really important for us, and everybody's got it. So everybody has their demons and issues they deal with. So
Yeah, and the songs definitely address that. There's a lot of definitely heartbreak
yeah,
in a lot of the songs. Were some of these songs inspired by real life heartbreak or?
definitely, yeah. I guess, real life heartbreak, but also just dealing with kind of your own internal like mental issues or your inner demons and stuff like
Ghosts,
that.
per
So
se.
Yeah.
ghosts, the things that haunt you that you can't necessarily see, that aren't necessarily tangible issues, but they're, I think, sometimes bigger issues than anything that is tangible. So
Yeah, and you guys have spoken about that before too, in terms of demons and ghosts and spirits, and in terms of feeling this darkness or feeling the inner demon, but it may be literally an external force. You guys have sort of spoken very openly about that,
Yeah.
which is interesting. So could you talk a little bit about that? Like, have you guys ever seen a ghost, or when did you? Not to, I guess,
Oh, okay.
ask a ridiculous question, but seriously, a
We
lot of
have,
people have seen them. So
We definitely have stories, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Kinda,
you should tell one.
tell us a ghost
They
story.
Ryan
They
has-
look
Ryan's
at
had
me.
a lot of crazy stuff happen to
Yeah,
him.
I've had some weird things happen to me. Just a short one. This is just not that crazy, but I like sat down on my bed one night and I look in my bathroom because it's like right like outside my
Yeah.
bedroom door, and I see like my toilet seat fall down, and then like the lid falls down right after. It wasn't like anything, like it wasn't like basically like on an angle. It just like fell both like. It was really creepy.
We used
I was
to
like,
we used to rehearse at his house, and things would happen like
Yeah.
pretty often. It was kind of funny.
yeah, it's kind of
You've-
weird.
I think he
That's
left
weird.
out a really crazy story about a dark figure by your bedside. But
Yeah, see, I didn't want to say that. I don't want people
yeah.
to think I'm like weird. That's why I just said the toilet seat one, so they're like, okay, that's not that bad. Yeah.
But
There's
a lot of
definitely
people
some
do
weird-
see that and experience that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was
You-
just a small one.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are also you love horror. Speaking of ghost stories, you love horror movies,
Yeah.
and that's like
Who
a big
doesn't?
inspiration.
Yeah.
What would be one of your favorites?
I think my favorite is like the old school Poltergeist. So that was one of the first like horror movies my parents showed me when I was younger. So that kind of like hit home for me.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Like,
The original Exorcist was like,
that was a good one.
yeah, that was a really
I
good
like,
one.
Yeah, like Halloween, like Freddy vs. Jason. I'm a huge like.
Yeah.
The classics.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
even go back to like Hitchcock, like Psycho and
Yeah.
So talk about how you guys came together as a band. Let's go back for people that don't know you, although I think you guys have a lot of fans here. Just for people who don't know how the band came together and your origins.
Well, we kind of met just through our local music scene, growing up, going to shows together.
In Lowell, Massachusetts.
Uh, Lindsay lived in Lowell. Me and Brian had lived in New Hampshire at the time, and I must have been 17. You were 16. You were
Little
17,
babies.
and
Yeah.
we decided to start a band because we all like had mutual friends, all like had this connection with one another, and we went to the studio as us, and then met our managers, and then kind of just took it from there. But
yeah, it really kind of
it's
just
been
Yeah.
about 5 years since we've joined together and
Three Musketeers.
decided to make music.
We actually hadn't heard Brian play bass when he joined the band.
Yeah, we
we
just
just
really
liked him
liked
so
him.
much. We were like, we need him with us.
Well, I used to play like in like heavier bands, and then I saw them. They played in a band prior to this one, and I went to a show, and I was like, "Whoa, Lindsay can sing really well. He like rips leads like it's nobody's business." And it's like, okay, I definitely want to play music with these guys because they're so talented. So,
He
yeah.
played guitar, but
Yeah.
we made him buy a bass.
Yeah.
To play with us.
And what was the moment for you guys when this became not just, oh, we have a cool band and we're friends playing music together, to this is a real thing and this is a career?
We've had a couple of those moments, but
Yeah.
the most
I guess
recent.
they're still happening. You're playing
Yeah.
Honestly,
Garden
yeah, it's
tonight.
happening
Yeah.
today. But the biggest one recently was we played at Warped Tour in our hometown, and that was kind of
Yeah.
the most eye-opening experience for me. And that was in July this past year, and
Even the summer before that too.
yeah.
Because
this
we'd done
summer-
2 weeks on Warped Tour before we did the whole thing this summer, and we did like the home show, and we were only playing the Ernie Ball stage 2 summers ago, and all summer it was maybe only like 100, 200 kids in front of the stage when we were playing, and we played the home date, and it was maybe like 400, 500, which isn't a lot in like retrospect, but like for us
at the time, yeah.
at the time to see it grow from year to year and to play, especially like from our hometown, to kind of see that we're like, okay, there's some, like we stepped out on stage and all kind of had this,
Yeah.
okay, there's something happening kind of moment, and you could definitely see the growth and see that like it was going to continue growing. So
yeah.
I don't know, it was a cool moment.
Yeah,
We
it
all kind of walked on and went, wait a second.
It's all friends and family in the crowd, and it was like this dramatic like scene from a movie where it starts raining and like people are on people's shoulders singing, and it was like, okay,
Didn't
this
seem
is
real.
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good to be able to show your family, like, hey, look, we're not
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is real. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. And touring has been a big part of your success, but also you guys are huge on Tumblr. And I
Are we
feel like,
really?
yeah, seriously, you're like one of the biggest bands on Tumblr from what I've seen and heard. And like,
We made it.
Am I making this up, guys? I don't know. But yeah, that from what I've seen, you're like in the top 20 of music bands on Tumblr in terms of mentions, and your music is so dark and emotional, which sometimes Tumblr can get that way.
Yeah.
I feel like
Which I
Tumblr is like the epitome of that. So
They get it for sure.
yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's also a Twitter account called PVRIS Lyrics. Have you guys seen that
Really?
one? They literally tweet your lyrics all day.
They're gonna run out of stuff eventually.
Yeah. Right. And well, your sound is really interesting as well because you know it's heavy. There's live drums, which is becoming a rarity. There's a lot of guitar, which even in the world of rock.
Yeah.
Now you're hearing less and less guitar, but there's a lot of electronic elements and a lot of synthesizers and things like that. How did you bring those sounds together?
It was always something we kind of wanted to incorporate for a long time when we were doing like previous music and in the studio prior to doing the record. And the scene we kind of grew up in and were surrounded with it wasn't necessarily narrow-minded, but it was definitely kind of boxed in and very generated and specific. And so it was always something we were like, I don't know if we can really do this. Like, people might not understand it and people might not necessarily get it. And but it was always something we kind of wanted to incorporate. And I was in contact with Blake, who produced the record, before we went to go do the record. And he was kind of just like mentoring me on using like Reason and Logic and stuff like that. So it was always something we'd been practicing and wanting to incorporate until we got into the studio with him. And we had a bunch of demos. Some were like really rock driven, some were more so electronic driven. And we just kind of went and picked the weirdest ones, the most electronic, and just really kind of like tried to find a cool blend of electronic and rock, because that's something that hasn't necessarily been done in I feel like the way we've done it. But yeah, I think including electronics and like programming and all that kind of stuff is really cool, because you can literally mold any sound that you want, and you can really create a vibe and create an atmosphere more with just drum, bass, guitar. You know what I mean? So it's cool to be able to to combine that kind of texture and element to stuff. So you can really, really dial in a sound and like a picture. So. Or audible picture, I suppose.
Do you guys consider yourselves like a rock band though in the end, or?
I feel like we have the rock band roots. Yeah.
We bring it live, you know.
We rock out.
For sure. And I think that's something we'll always try and incorporate to some extent with our music, because it is kind of where we came from. We all have that kind of.
And what do you think about the state of rock right now? I mean, you know, a lot of people have said rock is dead. I mean, I think people say that every 5 years, maybe every single year, people say, "Oh, rock is dead," and then something comes out to prove them wrong. But you know, there haven't been a lot of songs with like there hasn't been a huge rock hit in a while, especially in terms of like a real rock dark sound like you guys bring. But you guys are growing. I mean, so what do you think of where things are with rock?
I don't know. I haven't really been asked this question before. What do you think?
I don't know. I can't say I can answer that.
I think it's definitely evolving, and I definitely think it's changing, which I think is something it's always been doing. So it's not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be back in like the 70s. It's not what it used to be in the 80s.
I feel like
it still has the same kind of roots, I think.
I feel like it might come back full circle, like give it 10 years and classic rock will be back or something.
Yeah, kind of like,
You never
because
know.
right now, like, there's a lot of like new wave 80s and almost like 70s stuff going on right now. So I feel like it's gonna be coming full circle.
Yeah.
A lot of bands are doing kind of like new metal stuff right now too, which was like rock at one point, essentially, kind of. But yeah, I think it's always changing. It's always going to be cycling through. So.
I mean, I think you guys are a part of that in terms of bringing a lot of electronics into the sound, but definitely keeping it straight up rock in terms of the guitar and the drums and you know, you singing, of course. And speaking of you as a front woman, you've had to deal with a lot, especially I assume on tour and probably the Warped Tour and other tours with, you know, you're playing at a rock show with a lot of other rock bands, and there's guys in the crowd who are yelling sexist things sometimes, you know, like, and I know that you've shut them down, and like you've had to do this. And
We send Brian after them.
Yeah.
A couple
But it's like an unfortunate side effect of being a front woman, unfortunately, in 2016. Can you talk about that a little bit in some of your experiences?
Yeah. I feel like I honestly haven't had too many to count. You definitely do kind of have the typical like security or sound guy not necessarily taking you seriously, but you definitely do get treated a little bit differently. But I've never, because I'm just used to it. You don't really notice that until you take a step back and kind of realize, like, oh wait, you do kind of get treated like shit occasionally. Sorry if I can't swear.
You can play swear, it's the internet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shit.
There you go.
You definitely do get treated differently to an extent, but you can't let it define your experience. And I think as long as you acknowledge it and like don't take shit from people for it, and as long as you can address it and not let it define your time, I feel like a lot of people sit and they complain about it, which is okay. It's cool to acknowledge it and point it out, because like a lot of people, I think especially now, it's something that's being addressed a lot, which is awesome to see. But I don't think you should let it define your experience or let it hinder you. Like, I don't know, I've never seen my gender as like a setback or like anything different, because I don't know, like you're a girl your whole life. You don't think about that stuff until you kind of step back in retrospect. But yeah, just don't let it define your time, and just look past that. Don't take shit from anybody. So, I don't know.
And visuals are a huge part of the band.
Thank
I've
you for
noticed.
noticing.
You know, I've noticed you guys are wearing all black. I feel a little self-conscious.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you.
Balancing.
Here, you can have this sweater.
And you know, and your videos are often also black and white. You can see the album cover is black and white. Why did you guys choose those colors? I have a few guesses, but.
What are your guesses?
Well, you talked about being inspired by dark things, so I think black makes some sense, you know.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely kind of like an homage to, I guess, old black and white film, old black and white photography, like film noir kind of stuff, and old like classic horror movies, like I mentioned Hitchcock earlier and stuff like that. But it's also, I feel like when you see pictures in color, or like a lot of stuff in color, it kind of sets a mood. Like you see yellow, you get a certain vibe. You see red, you get a certain vibe.
You can kind of paint your own picture.
Yeah, where I feel like black and white, you kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, and it's a little bit more ominous and mysterious. You don't necessarily know what the vibe is, but you definitely kind of come to your own conclusion, which is the cool thing about it, I think.
We also didn't talk about your name yet, and which I'm sure you get asked about a lot. And I know your original name was Operation Guillotine, which I think is an amazing name, by the way, as well. And it's interesting that it went to Paris, because I'm thinking like French Revolution. Was that something that inspired you guys in terms of both names, or?
I didn't even make that connection, actually.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, guillotine in Paris.
Yeah,
okay, it makes
the
sense.
guillotine
That's
in
where the
Paris.
guillotine was being used.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's funny. I think that happened kind of subconsciously.
Yeah.
Because when we were coming up with the name, we had like a member prior to this who was helping us come up with names and stuff. And he and I were in art class, and I think we were actually kind of learning about like more so French artists, and Paris was something that was kind of coming up a lot. And we were taking a test one day, and he just passed me a note that said Paris, and I was like, yeah, like that's cool. We dig it. And it was something that kind of stuck. We all kind of unanimously were just like, yeah, that's the name. But I think it's kind of suiting towards the aesthetic and the vibe, because Paris is very kind of known for like romance and kind of being soft and gentle, but also it has a very hidden dark history and mystery to it, which I think is kind of suiting towards our band in a way.
Yeah.
And what's going to be next for you guys after this tour is going on, and then April, the deluxe version of White Noise comes out, and what's going on after that?
We have headliners. We go to the UK, and then we go to mainland Europe, and then we have some other stuff in the works.
There's something
Some
else
more,
after we can't say.
Yeah,
Lots
we
and
can't
lots
say.
more.
And then we have festivals this summer. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it must be interesting playing outside in the middle of the day sometimes at a festival.
Yeah.
You're playing these dark songs, wearing all black.
Yeah.
People are in flower crowns watching, you know.
It's
Sweating
definitely-
away. I'm like,
Yeah. It's definitely fun because it's kind of almost a challenge, because when you're indoors, you can kind of set a mood and set a tone, and it's definitely kind of more in your favor if you're in like more kind of moody, dark band. Whereas when you're out in like mid-daylight, you kind of have to like just bring the grittiness and bring that the same way. I don't know. It's
Cool. Now I think we're going to go to some audience questions now.
cool.
If we have anyone ready.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
See you again as well. My question was, if you guys could put together your dream tour, who would you have on it and why? I want to know why.
How many bands are we allowed?
How about one for each of you?
Okay.
Three.
I would do Ben Howard because he's my favorite. He's
Ooh.
awesome.
Yeah, you totally stole mine.
Stole Alex.
So I love Ben Howard more than you. Yeah, I just love his music. He's awesome. He's left-handed as well, and I'm left-handed too. So.
All right, you go. I need a second.
I think touring with Florence and the Machine would be amazing. Favorite artist, favorite.
Here's
Put
some
it out
woos.
there in the universe.
Just putting it out there.
I'm gonna say right now the 1975 because
Yeah.
they're fantastic.
See, aren't you glad you said that now?
Yeah, crowd favorite. I win.
You got one #1 album right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
Feeling it.
Next question.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I read that you toured with Mayday Parade. Is that
did.
correct?
Yes.
And Sleeping with Sirens.
Yes.
That's crazy. They're like my favorite bands, and I like really grew up listening to them. So I wanted to know if they're some of your musical influences, or what are some of them?
I grew up listening to Mayday Parade
Yeah.
a lot, and that was the tour our record came out on. And,
Yeah.
that was
The high school days.
yeah, that was such a great tour. They were definitely a huge influence growing up through high school. I grew up listening to a lot of like Under Oath, like Seosin, that got me into this kind of scene.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
I feel like that's where kind of the rock influence comes from.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely like Seosin, Moving Mountains, Under Oath. For me, lyrically, I get a lot of inspiration, like again from Florence and the Machine. She's very dynamic and kind of paints a really cool picture lyrically, and she'll get a point across, but do it in a really interesting and unique way, which I think is really cool and something I try and do. But
Yeah, I listened to like a lot of rock, and I listened to like Circa Survive and stuff like that when I was growing up. But like my influences were like soul music.
yeah, the funk.
Like
Brian's
the funk.
got the
Yeah,
funk.
got to bring the funk on stage. But like Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind and Fire, The Temptations. Just like anytime my mom was cleaning the house, I was playing, and I'd be dancing around and stuff like that. So, yeah.
didn't you also dance around at AFI a lot?
Yeah, AFI as well. Sing the Sorrow, one of the best records ever made. So.
Cool. Next
Amen.
question.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. Could you describe your creative process when writing songs? And in the similar vein, do you have any like pump-up rituals, pre-game rituals, so to speak, for your tour?
I feel like we don't have any pregame rituals. Our pregame rituals are always
Just trying to find each
trying
other.
to find each other and make sure everyone's together, because someone's either like lost in the bathroom or it's very spinal
Lost
tap
elsewhere.
of us. As for the writing process, I feel like it's different every time. There's no exact formula. You kind of have to just kind of go with a feeling and roll with it. Like
We're notorious for like hearing something or like hearing something in our head and like taking voice memos and then like later on just like building with voice memos and
yeah. Like you'll hear a drum beat or you'll hear like two chords and be like, this chord should come after that, and you just kind of build off these little tiny skeletons. But it's really different every time. Like when we did the record, it was so all over the place and scattered, but I think that was something that was really cool and something I think we want to continue to do. Like typically when you do a record, it's you kind of go in for pre-pro, make sure the songs are good, and then you do like drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and you're done. Whereas when we worked with Blake, it was kind of really scattered and all over the place.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we did a lot of writing while we were recording, a lot of recording while we were writing. Like
did the drums halfway through the
did the drums
Yeah.
midway through the record, and like I don't know, we kind of just really vibed and we're like, do you want to work on this today? You want to work on this today? Just really went with what we were feeling each day and what we felt was appropriate, and we didn't try and box ourselves in or force ideas or structure things out, because I feel like that puts too much pressure on you and you can't like relax and really let ideas marinate or
Exactly.
stuff like that.
marinate.
Marinate like a fine
Marinate.
steak. But yeah, I feel like the writing process for us especially is just very free and kind of open, and it's not structured or pressure or anything like that. It's very, when the idea comes, it will come. So.
One more question.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello, how are you?
Hey. Good. Kind of going off of that, I have a question, of course. Do you guys have a new sound that you haven't worked on yet, but maybe while working on the first record, it came up and you're like, oh, maybe we should try that for the new one, or or new sounds that you want to explore that might be there, you guys been itching to do but haven't had the opportunity yet?
Perhaps.
I mean, we don't want to spill the beans.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much. But there definitely are newer elements that we want to start incorporating on the next record that were things we kind of tried here and there on White Noise, but didn't necessarily think they fit with the record. So there definitely are going to be a couple elements I think people will notice when we eventually put the new record out that are going to be new sounds and new
Reoccurring things.
kind of things. Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Paris. Everybody, give them a round.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank
Madison Square Garden tonight.
Yeah.
Are there tickets left?
you for having us.